Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center, and it is our favorite time of the week. We're taking a look at the coolest new knives that have just hit the shelves. So let's check them out. All right, first up today is the Benchmade Narrows. This officially dropped last Friday. We actually got to take a look at it at Blade Show, and you saw that in our Blade Show coverage, I hope. But now that I've had a little more time to spend with it, figured we'd share it again, since some folks may not have watched our Blade Show coverage, and that's okay. As long as you're watching this video, I love you. Actually, I love all of you, it's fine. Here's the knife. It's a rather expensive knife, $522, and for that, they kind of, engineering-wise, they say pulled out all the stops to make the lightest, thinnest titanium folder in their lineup. It is thinner than a bug out on the handle scales there and on the blade steel. So very, very thin. Not quite as lightweight because, you know, plastic is still lighter than metal, but still 2.4 ounces for this. Blade is a little bit bigger, 3.43 inches officially, and great little drop point shape. M390 steel, tons of edge retention, not a particularly tough steel, so don't expect this to go like batoning woods or like hacking into things. That's not what this is made for. This is made for slicing. And in terms of edge, or in terms of actual edge geometry, I'll go back to that bug out comparison there. Blade steel, like I said, is thinner. We've got a mid-height flat grind. We'll call that a saber grind in this case. It's hard to say for sure whether this or the bug out has the more efficient actual geometry itself. Because that blade is a little bit thinner on the narrows here, you can't really judge by the height on the grind as I might if they were the same thickness. So as such, they're going to be pretty close in any case, and this is going to be a very, very slicey blade. The handles, super narrow, hence the name, titanium, milled pockets on the inside and outside. In fact, that lowered pocketed area is a very thin amount of titanium left. We've got blue PVD coated hardware, thumb studs, pivot, deep carry, reversible pocket clip, and back spacers. And new iteration of the axis lock. We've got a stepped section here for the actual protruding part of the crossbar, makes it very easy to grab onto. And this is also a slightly thinner or slightly more compact iteration because of that. And also, they didn't have room for the Omega springs in the handle because they're so thin. So they're using, I think it's actually called like a clock spring here, a twisted spring to push that crossbar forward onto the tang of the blade. Just overall, it's really nice. It offers a new kind of take or a new direction forward, maybe we should say, for some of Benchmade's products, or at least another possibility for things. In addition to just, the complete dedication to the mission they gave this knife, it also has a bit of a different feel than most other axis lock Benchmades because they've got washers or ball bearings in the pivot here rather than washers. Gives it a very different, kind of more free-floating feel. Loses maybe a little bit of the smoothness that washers can come with, and of course the kind of hard use toughness that you usually associate with washers. But again, like I mentioned earlier, this is not exactly a hard use tough kind of knife. It's just a premium luxury piece instead. If you'd like something more affordable, I feel you. $522 is a lot of money. How about $95.20? We have the new S35 VN versions of the Spyderco Ambitious are now in stock. 2.3 inches on that S35 VN blade, blue injection molded handle scales with bidirectional texturing, so it grips in pretty much every way, no matter which way you need to hold it. And there's some thickness or some width to the handle itself. This is one of those small knives that doesn't feel like a small shrimpy thing. I mean, it's a 3.5 finger grip for my slightly larger than average sized hands. Your mileage may of course vary, but it is chunky in a way that instills confidence in this shorter blade length. Good edge retention with that S35 VN steel, good geometry with that full flat ground blade, and liner lock to keep it secured. And we've got washers in the pivot here. No ball bearings to get gunked up quite as easily as the washers can here. Reinforces the kind of tough, hard-working nature of this knife. 4-position pocket clip. You can carry it in any configuration you like. Yes, it'll Spidey flick. I promise you. I did it earlier. Oh my gosh. There we go.
He gets there eventually.
Nailed it. You can Spidey flick it, or you can just open it with your thumb right there. Super solid piece. If you don't want to spend this kind of money, you can spend about half for the 8CR series stainless steel option, but you're not going to get anywhere near the same amount of edge retention that you're going to get with the S35. Now, if you'd prefer your small knife to have more of a small knife feel, how about the CIVIVI Baby Banter? We've got a new version of this that is now in stock. This is coming in at about 85 bucks, just a little bit less than that. And again, blade length were about the same actually, measured from tip to scale, or the tip to the leading edge of the handle on both of these knives. You get a little bit less edge itself with the CIVIVI, however, because part of that length is given over to this finger choil right here, which allows you to get, kind of just like the Ambitious for me, a 3.5 finger grip, a little bit more agile feeling, a little bit more nimble or deft, rather than the slightly fuller feel of the Ambitious here. It is the Ambitious, right? Did I mess its name up? No, it is the Ambitious. Sorry. This is also, as you can see, a fancier version of the Baby Banter. Damascus blade steel with carbon fiber handles, standard twill pattern here. And the Damascus is a 9CR based steel, if they're still using the same stuff, which is typical of them. So, you know, performance somewhere around 440C, maybe a little bit better in some cases. But nice little broad drop point blade, high flat grind, thin enough. It's got some slicey vibes for sure. I like the accents of the blue thumb studs right there. Liner lock to keep things nice and tight. We've got a deep carry pocket clip, which you can reverse. Makes this a very compact, small, formal knife, whether you're a gentleman or not. Ball bearings in the pivot for a nice, crisp action there. The detent is tuned really nicely. It's just a really great small EDC. You can, of course, save money on this knife too if you want to buy one of the Nitro V steel versions rather than the fancy boy right here, but we've got the fancy boy right here, so it's new. That's why we're taking a look at it. Speaking of which, we have two knives from We Knife Company, sorry, which is CIVIVI's more premium sister brand. The first is the Navo, which is a design by Opinel. This version right here is coming in about $193, but you can get versions starting around the $180 mark. You can also get versions more expensive than this too. But it's a really clean design. It kind of really leans into Opinel's strengths in the streamlined cleanliness that you get right here. Blade itself is 20CV steel, American-made stuff, 3¼ inches long, and the blade's pretty much perfect as far as I'm concerned. It's thin, got a full flat grind, you've got a drop point profile that'll do just about anything you need. And my favorite version that, just based on looks that I've seen of all of these, is the marbled carbon fiber version here. In fact, this particular piece, the way the marbling is playing out, it looks almost like the Damascus steel on that CIVIVI we just looked at, which is kind of cool too. As far as the lockup and action, we're dealing with a titanium liner lock here, but it's not a super crazy thin liner. It's a little bit thicker, and they've even left space for a steel lock bar insert there, which is something you usually only see on titanium frame locks in the premium space. But since the liners are titanium here, they pocketed it right in there, which is pretty cool. We've got ball bearings in the pivot here for that crisp action. Here is the closed profile, nice and clean. Doesn't take up a whole lot of space in the pocket, but when you're ready to go, great blade profile, plenty to hold on to. I've got all 4 of my fingers on that handle, no problem. Milled pocket clip here, right side or left side, hidden lanyard point. It's got a lot of great, also formal knife pedigree, whether you're a gentleman or not. Thomas may not be a gentleman most of the time.
Definitely.
That's okay though, we still like him. Next up, the Riff-Raff from We Knife Company, a Matt Christensen design. This is a really striking profile. This is a really expensive version of it with the Damasteel blade, about $586 and some change. but this knife starts more around the $260 mark. So not quite half, but getting there between the two. The handles are titanium. This one is the black and bronze finish, which I've always really liked. Gives it a kind of worn, pre-broken in type of feel, because it's basically been, I'm not sure exactly how they do it, but it strikes me as something that looks like it's been patinaed, and then all the edges are kind of rubbed to reveal the more bronze texture or bronze coloration underneath. Gives it that pocket worn feel. Although pocket worn, that's a case trademark, so we won't use that phrase here. Handle, just about, it's kind of a just barely 3.5 finger grip for me, or not quite a 4-finger grip there. And a really broad blade. I love the style of that shape right here. Long, straight spined clip point here, higher flat grind. Damascus steel is going to give you that kind of CPM 154 type of performance. If you want more edge retention, the base model, rather than guess, let me actually check. Yep, it is, as I would have guessed, 20 CV for the base model, so more edge retention on that version. As for the lockup, we've got a frame lock. We've got ball bearings in the pivot. Thumb flick is awesome, and the middle finger flick works great on this knife as well. The whole thing really feels poised to cut when you do open it though. Just enough there to hold on to with a full grip, and the thumb ramp here behind the full length swedge. It's just a winner. Now this next knife, finishing wise actually, has kind of the same vibes as the Riff-Raff. We have a big new batch of the Scavenger from ADV. This is the production version, not the full customs. And hence you can get it for $720, only $720 in this place. In this place?
That's a word now. In
this place, you can, I don't know, whatever, look it up. This is an integral titanium folder, and I believe that, yes, they are made by Reich Knives, who do a very good job OEMing for a fair number of companies these days, and doing a fine job of it. Titanium, integral, so it's a single piece handle, not screwed together, and this one right here has kind of that same two-tone thing, like I mentioned. Gold accents coming through rather than a more dull bronze in this case though. If you want something more colorful, we got those options too. Like I said, we got a number of different variations in right now. Big blade, 4 3/4 inch, M390 steel, trailing point, holes in the blade. Holes make it go faster, don't you know? And good action all around. Ball bearings in the pivot. It flips great. I bet you it flicks great too. I haven't tried a middle finger flick on one of these before. Let's try it. That was super satisfying, actually. Watch, I'm gonna get it wrong again the second time. No, that was awesome. That works great. I'm not sure if you could get into the fuller section. Yeah, you can do that. So if you wanted a middle finger flick out there, you could do that too. If this is gonna be an actual carry piece for you rather than a display, I'd say this section here, despite it being a pretty big knife, the main handle section before you reach this kind of, not quite a beak, but this upturn here is actually a tiny bit cramped for my size hands, but you could certainly get there behind it and have plenty of length if you would rather stick your pinky on the back end right there. Really well made, really striking. A little bit more subdued with this one, but if you want more striking, check out the fancier anode versions. And I think, let's see. Nope, that one's a little more expensive, but we've got some really cool anodized like acid rain finishes and stuff as well that you can get. This next knife kind of goes the opposite direction of the kind of blinged out stuff we've just looked at here, and it's a bit more of a kind of ruggedized color option on these James brand knives. This is the Carter XL, comes in $179 with green G10 and orange accents, both with the backspacer here and the ambidextrous thumb disc. Black blade, contrasts nicely. Black hardware matches the blade. We've got a deep carry pocket clip, lets you carry it on either side, no problem, because it is inserted into the back end of the handle there. Nice and clean, and that's a thing that kind of sums up this whole design for me, both this and the standard version. Very clean. You do have 4 kind of screw holes or screws here at the back, but nothing further up until you get to the pivot itself. And the small version is even cleaner, even fewer screws, which is just a really cool thing, a really nice, satisfying thing for, you know, you knife nuts out there. And why out there? I include myself in that. It's quite nice. And the crossbar lock works excellent too. nice and smooth. You've got finger safe operation, so your fingers never get in the path of that blade, and good lockup as well. If you'd rather use the thumb stud, or thumb disc I should say, no problem there. This one has a 3.3-inch blade, and again, this is one of those blades that's like slimmed down, or just the essence of a utilitarian, but still good looking blade. VG10, thin enough, great drop point, almost a full flat grind, hard to go wrong. Likewise, we've got a similar color combo going on with this James brand Redstone right here. This is a smaller knife, obviously, comes in about $99, and we've got a folded steel frame, essentially. Not an integral because it's not milled out, but it does form an integral handle, but just in a more old school way. Folded steel for the platform. We've got two different inlay colors on this one, green at the back, orange on the front around the pivot, and a little bit of space there in the middle. And I'll admit this is a look that initially had me really scratching my head. It still may not be like my #1 thing, but in hand it does make a bit of sense, especially on a smaller knife like this, I would say. Yes, you can get just barely all 4 fingers, at least for me, on that handle if you really need to push through a cut, but there's something about this orange section up front that acts like a kind of control pad for your fingertips in smaller work. And I find myself really naturally with my middle finger wrapping around the front of the rear onlay there. And it just feels different, but secure. It feels interesting. Sometimes different can be good because, you know, how else do you push the envelope forward, right? Pretty cool. We do have a wire deep carry pocket clip. It is right side only. Whereas the rest of the controls on this knife are ambidextrous. It also comes with this small bit of cordage as a little fob in the back. You can certainly take that out if you wish. Action, pretty much the same as the bigger knife we just looked at. They're tuning their crossbar locks quite well. 2.5-inch blade, Sandvix 12C27 is the blade steel. It's stainless. Not going to hold an edge nearly as long as the VG10 we just looked at, but it is a nice tough steel, tougher steel than VG10, and that's going to help with the partial serrations here, help keep the tips from snapping off unnecessarily. Yeah, that's the knife. Shall we take a look at our next one? It is a new brand here at the KnifeCenter. We just brought in their lineup, and it is WOOX. They've got, I think, primarily known for their axes, but they've got some folders and fixed blades too. We're going to take a look at one of the fixed blades first. This is the Rock 62. This series starts around the $160 mark and goes up depending on which handle and blade finish you go with. This one right here is about $179 and some change. And it is a really solid shape, quite honestly. Very like basic, but got all the all the things right with it, I would say. This has the X-Grip micarta scales, which in this case is linen micarta with some pretty aggressive milled cuts going on through the handle. And those add a significant amount of surface area and traction for your heavier cutting. If you want that extra grip, this one is probably the one to go with. If that's not your thing, you can also get this knife with a smooth-sided micarta or wood handle. And you can also get the wood-handled versions with some checkering if you'd like that as well. So a lot of different choices there, not just this really heavy aggressive grip version right here. There's some that'll be a little more comfortable for use without gloves. This one has, a little bit of kind of sharp edges that would disappear in a work glove though. It's another good different option if that's what you're looking for though. Before I get to the blade, a little bit more about the handle. For those who like a more hand-filling grip on your fixed blade, this is definitely one worth checking out. Look how broad that handle is right there. Definitely plenty there to fill your mitts. Works great in your standard hammer and saber grips, and I really like the bevel towards the front for the pinch grips. The blade, 4.5 inches, Sleipner steel. Very, very good choice for a hard-use outdoor knife. Interesting kind of take to the drop point. It's got a little bit of rise here towards the front, like right there in front of the jimping. You can see it goes whoop. Very subtle, but I like it. High flat grind, not super high, maybe 2/3 of the height. Decent cutting geometry. The blade thickness here, about 3/16 of an inch. Definitely going for the more harder use survival style of outdoor knife. The sheath that it comes with is basic but good. You've got leather with a folded over belt loop on the back and a retention strap there on the front, which wraps around the finger guard, which is good to keep your fingers protected, and it also keeps that in the sheath when that snap is in place too. Overall, just a really well done full tang fixed blade right there. Check it out. Oh, one detail I should mention, because the folks that might be interested in this knife will be interested to know this. If you want to strike a fire steel with this, the spine is fairly crisp. It could be maybe a little crisper, but I think that should strike a fire steel, and the protruding tang here at the back also feels sharp enough to do the same task. Now for one of their axes, we'll go for what I see at least as the flagship. This is the AX1. Here it is. And it's got some good stuff going for it right out of the box. It's not cheap. It's about 229 bucks, but it has some nice features and some nice included accessories, such as, we'll start with one of those, the overstrike collar. You can also buy this separately. Some versions of this axe, I almost said knife, don't come with this pre-installed, but this one does. You can get it otherwise. As you can see right here, it says made in Italy, and that's actually the same case with the fixed blade. Yep, Maniago, Italy. I'm not sure what company over there is building this for them, but they all feel really good. But that overstrike collar is of course going to help if you overstrike what you're aiming at. It'll protect the handle back here, and it also finds itself being very comfortable if you are going to use this blade choked up behind that hatchet head to do kind of bushcrafty things with it. That head itself is fairly traditionally shaped, nothing too fancy there. Good all-around style hatchet with a hammer pole on the back. The handle is Appalachian hickory, and the tail end here is where they kind of really mix things up. Instead of a flare at the back, it is more straight hafted, even though you do have some curvature to that haft itself to further facilitate the throwability of this hatchet. We've also got a nice broad lanyard hole and a steel butt cap here at the end, octagonally shaped. You could use that for, I guess, hitting, striking, that sort of thing. And also, if you are throwing this device, if you are off in your throw and the tail end hits your target rather than the sharp bit, it's also going to protect the back end of your handle right there at the same time. Also, comes with a mask. It is made of leather. Let me try to not cut myself while I do this on camera. Anyway, Thomas, stop rolling, stop rolling. No. Has a snap here at the front and curving around the back. And this does work because it was snapped, there we go, in the package when we took it out of the box. So there you go. Let's kind of keep the traditional styling going here. Traditional, but with a modern twist or more of a spin on it. Finch knives. This is the Flint flipper. Comes in about 145 bucks. And like they always do, it kind of combines classic pocket knife styling or inspiration with a more modern frame lock flipper design. We've got a 3-inch blade here, 154 cm clip point, saber height flat grind, integral stainless steel bolsters. You can see it's single piece there with the liner, and it comes with this nice horizontally grained hand rubbed style of finish, which then matches what you see on the blade there. Cocobolo is the, oh, it's not Cocobolo. I was about to say, it looks like ironwood, but they usually use Cocobolo, I think. But this is in fact desert ironwood handle. So each one is gonna look a little bit different because it's a natural material, and ironwood is just such a cool natural material to begin with. Glow-in-the-dark Finch inlay on the inlay. Inlays upon inlays upon inlays here. Milled stainless steel clip. Actually, I'm not sure if it's titanium or stainless steel now that I think about it, but it's a milled clip in any case. We've got ball bearings in the pivot here with the frame lock as mentioned. Very cool flipper tab right here. I always like the way it seems to like angle out and come back in. They've done that on a fair number of their flippers. And guess what? It flippers quite nicely. Next up, we've got several new Opinels to talk about, but these actually feel pretty darn new because I've certainly never encountered an Opinel in this form factor before. We've got some Opinel kitchen knives. I've had kitchen knives in the past, but I've never seen like these particular kitchen knives feel new. Anyway, I've only got a few of them here, but they have a full range of blade shapes. This is the 8-inch chef knife. Comes in about 50 bucks. Very traditional shape right here. The finishing on the blade looks great. The edge itself is nice and sharp. As for the steel, this is essentially the same stuff that, you know, your Wüsthof and Henkel's mainline kitchen knives use. X50, it says it here on the blade actually, X50 CRMOV 15. There you go. And that's not a Chinese steel or anything like that. It's just kind of the chemicular designation. Chemicular, that's another new word for today.
There's all kinds of them today.
I think people like it when I make up words. Let us know.
Let
us know in the comments. Really nicely done. The balance on it is maybe a little bit blade. I was about to say it's a little bit blade heavy, but I take that back. In your proper chef style pinch grip, it actually balances quite nicely. Maybe just the skoshest of blade heaviness, but not something that's going to get in the way at all. Beechwood handles, partial tang, traditional riveted construction right there. Smooth there on the front. So this is a single piece of wood for the handle. So if these do start to work loose over time, at least your handle's staying put. Yeah, really nicely done actually. We also have a bread knife here. This is the 8-inch serrated bread knife, $40. And may I just take a moment to say how much I appreciate the fact that there's some curve to the actual edge right here. It's not just another straight hafted or straight bladed bread knife. I find a curved bread knife to be so much more satisfying and easy to use and useful, quite honestly, than your straight bladed one. It's easier to make full contact with the cutting board. It cuts easier on the push forward cut when you're sawing through a big loaf of bread or something like that. It's just all around a better choice in my opinion, full stop. Everything else spec-wise is pretty much the same. You got your beechwood handles, partial tang, nice full flat grind, very nicely done serrations. I like it. Always good to see more curved bladed bread knives. We don't nearly see enough of those on the market. Get on it, kitchen knife makers. They don't care. They're not listening to me. It's fine. Next up.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet, at least. What are we going to do? We're going to like hold them hostage or something and just like yell, curve your bread knives.
We'll trust the algorithm.
That's a mistake. Like I said, several other standard kitchen knife patterns that you can get your hands on in this kind of lineup. There's also this interesting kind of 4-piece set here, about $52. Comes with 4 pieces, 2 paring knives, 1 plain edged, 1 fully serrated. It's pretty cool. They feel really good. And I actually really like the treatment here right around the front. I do like a pinch grip usually, and this doesn't give you that, but it is rather striking to look at, this sort of, what's the word, knocked off edges. That sounds worse than what's actually going on right here. That sounds, you know, careless. That's certainly not the case here. It's really nice shape. I like it. Also comes with your hooked paring knife, which is always a cool thing. Check out how thin these blades are too. Very mission appropriate. And finally, a peeler. You know, non-swiveling. This is a fixed blade peeler. That's cool too. $52 for that set right there. And then last but not least, the Ontario Bushcraft Seax is now in stock. The Bushcraft series, honestly, in my opinion, is one of the hidden gems in the knife world. Maybe it's about time we do another one of those videos. Hidden gem videos. Those are always fun. They're built super well. They're pretty darn affordable. This one right here is, you know, $57 and some change. 4.4-inch blade, 420 steel in this case, and it's got that Seax blade style. That's S-E-A-X if you're following along at home, which essentially is designed to, in this case, is sort of mimicking, oh, it says S-E-A-X right there on the front, so if they're watching, they did see it.
Yes.
So the Seax style is traditionally thought of as like a Nordic thing, where, you know, you had a longer blade that breaks. So you repurpose it into a smaller blade, hence the broken back Seax as sort of the genre name for it. But a lot of bushcraft folks have really gravitated towards this pattern lately, at least. It's a cool blade. You've got a very acute tip right here. In some ways, it kind of is going to cut in terms of how you experience the blade, similarly to a big, long Wharncliffe blade. A bit, you know, hear me out there, it works for that. But you've got nice gentle belly, full flat grind, thin enough steel here. This is also going to be a great slicer around camp. This is going to be a good food prep knife, as well as just other general purpose stuff too. We have a laminated hardwood handle here. The spine itself, even though this is a bolt-on knife, The spine is like perfectly mated to those handles. Really nicely done, pretty darn clean. Made in the USA at this kind of price is also worthy of note. Sheath, actually I don't know if the sheath is made in the USA, but the blade itself, knife itself is, yeah, sheath made in China. But that's part of how they get the price where it is, quite honestly. And although the vibes of the sheath may not quite match the classic vibes of the knife itself here, it is a highly functional sheath. We've got, as you can see, I just pulled the one snap loop from one side to the other. This is an ambidextrous sheath, works just as well left or right. Snap for the finger guard, snap here at the back for the handle, and nice pouch on the front for a stone, sharpening stone, survival goodies, what have you. Will all fit in there quite nicely and hold your knife ready to go until you need it. All right, that's all I've got to show you today. Make sure to let me know what you thought of the knives down in the comments section. And if you're gonna buy one of these knives, use the links in the description because we've got our knife rewards program, of course, which means you'll get to earn some free money to spend on your future purchase when you pick one up from KnifeCenter today. I'm David C. Anderson from the KnifeCenter. That's Thomas behind the camera, and we're signing off. See you next time.